Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. Today we're going to talk about one of the reasons to act now based on a few stories of people who I've talked to, as well as friends, and kind of just the unfortunate uncertainty in the world today. So this is the subject of if you're going to get citizenship by investment or residency in some other country, what is one of the critical elements that is considered in that process? And that is a criminal record check. Now, you might think off the top of your head, hey, listen, this is perfectly reasonable. We don't want to let criminals into our country, and I would tend to agree with you. This being said, it's really interesting how this factor can play into, somebody having an issue years ago in their life maybe that haunts them. I'm going to give you an example. A friend of mine had an incident, terrible incident for him. He was in Amsterdam, and in Amsterdam, marijuana is legal. So, he goes and smokes a joint or what, I don't know exactly what he did, but something like that. Anyway, he ended up with like a tiny little bit of marijuana in his pocket. He's from Sweden. And he returned to Sweden and got off the plane and got pulled aside and charged with drug trafficking. And, you just kind of think about this, right? Like this person, he's like a just kind of like naive, innocent person who just didn't think, right? Did something that was perfectly legal in the country that he did it in. He said, he was like, I forget what the amount was, but it was some ridiculously small amount. But because he transported it from Netherlands to Sweden, this is all of a sudden like international drug trafficking. And under the law, there's no difference between him and Pablo Escobar, right? Which is just this ridiculous nonsense, just insane. I was talking to somebody else who they're just like a normal person, and what was it? There's something to do with cryptocurrency, and suddenly they were having problems with their bank for supposed money laundering, and they're like, "What are we talking about? Like, I'm a teacher. Like, I don't do anything. I just went and bought. They had bought crypto with cash." Right? Again, it was probably like the bull market of 2017 or something. Nobody knows how to buy. It's kind of a new thing. You can't buy it on PayPal or whatever. Ends up buying some crypto with cash, and all of a sudden there's this money laundering concern because we don't know the source of these funds. And this is unfortunately the state of the world, right? Is you can basically be a normal, innocent person, and for the most part, you probably won't have any issues. But you can inadvertently get caught in another really bad situation, right? We see lots of different examples of this in the world today. And it's kind of getting worse with this doxing culture and this culture of, going and like basically attacking somebody or because they disagree with your political beliefs or whatever. Really, really horrible stuff. And the problem is, what's the consequence of that? The consequence of that is that could potentially prevent you from getting most citizenships in the future. It could prevent you from getting a lot of residencies. For example, when I moved to Bulgaria, one of the first things that is required is you need a criminal record check, right? So if you have a criminal record, all of a sudden, that's potentially a problem. I talk to people once in a while who come and they're interested in getting some sort of Caribbean citizenship by investment. And one of the questions is, hey, listen, do you have a criminal record? And maybe it's like nothing serious. Maybe sometimes, I haven't usually seen anything serious that shows up, but sometimes what you'll have is you'll have somebody where, I don't know, there was some incident with the press and, something to do with, I don't know, like maybe securities regulations or whatever it was, right? Something went on, and now all of a sudden there's this concern of, hang on, is that going to cause a problem for me to get this citizenship? And it's something that a lot of people aren't thinking about. And to me, it's one example of a reason why we should, in this day and age, be seizing opportunities while we have them, right? We should be saying, hey, listen, if I have a chance to put together a plan B, whether that is getting a residency somewhere, which eventually can lead to permanent residency, maybe eventually lead to citizenship, or I can get a citizenship, I have that opportunity, and I'm kind of putting it off. Like, you just don't really know what's going to happen, right? Imagine that you're driving down the street and, for whatever reason, something happens, you end up hitting somebody, they die, and you're charged with manslaughter, right? Again, not something that you intended. You don't have to be a bad person to end up in this situation. It's really unfortunate. Obviously, we don't want that to happen. But there's lots of examples of this. So I guess number one, the piece of awareness is be aware that if you're in that situation, your options have narrowed dramatically. The number of countries that will accept you for a second citizenship, there are some, right? There is 2 or 3 countries that I can think of where it's potentially possible to have a criminal record and still get a second citizenship, so that's good. There's some cases where you can probably get it with residency, but a lot of places won't allow you. They won't allow you to have residency, they won't allow you to have citizenship. Maybe you can after a period of years and you get a pardon and you go down this process. Much more difficult. So number one, if you're in that situation where you're like, hey, listen, this happened, be aware your options are more limited. You can reach out to us, you can talk to us about, whether there's something that might work for you, given kind of your background. And the second is don't wait to act. Obviously, be careful and, try not to become a criminal. But it's favorable to set yourself up so that you at least have some sort of a plan B and C and D and E now. Because one of the good things, like again, using the example of Bulgaria, if you'd gone and you'd gotten residency, then when you renew it, you don't have to go through the same process anymore. You're already in, and that can go somewhere for you. So some examples of places where you can go and you can kind of just start the process off, and you don't necessarily have to do much to maintain it. Cyprus, Bulgaria, Georgia, Panama. There's a variety of, again, different considerations. But some of the Latin American countries in general, you can have relatively minimal stay requirements in order to maintain the residency. This doesn't necessarily get you a citizenship, right? But you can at least maintain the residency. Some other places you can get permanent residency by making some sort of investment, etc. So all of these things are useful to think about and keep it in mind. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it's interesting to you. If you heard about situations like this, let me know in the comments below. If you would like any help with international structuring, with where to form the best company for yourself or relocate your company in order to pay the lowest legal amount of tax, in order to relocate, you want a citizenship, you want a residency, you want to open a second bank account, you want to something like that, please reach out to us. You can book a call with me, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer, link in the description below. Give our video a thumbs up if you liked it, share it with your friends. We really appreciate it if you smash the subscribe button. And I'm going to look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.